everyone, it's Sue Baker here from Imagination Crafts, and this afternoon I'm going to do another YouTube video for you. You've all been asking about the new gorgeous Starlight Textile paints, so now I'm going to show you how to use them on a little gift bag. Hope you enjoy. So I thought we'd start off by showing you some of the Starlight Textile actually on textiles, on fabric. And you can see here, look at the shimmer, and that's what Starlight Textile is all about. And I've also done two little boards here to show you the difference between Starlight Textile on silk and Starlight Textile on calico. And this is it on the silk, and can you see, you can still see the slub and the weave of the silk, which is beautiful. And look at that shimmer, look at that shimmer, isn't that fantastic? And I'm going to be using for this video the menthol, a tiny bit of silver, and just a little bit of pearl, because I want to show you how the pearl is a magic bullet, because you can mix the pearl with any of the darker colours and you can actually take these colours, make them a little bit paler. So the pearl is beautiful and it will add fantastic highlights and shimmer when you use it. I also wanted to show you Starlight Textile and calico, so you could see how true the colours actually stay. And if I hold it up to the camera, look at that shimmer, that's amazing. So I'm going to be decorating some little calico bags, and I'm going to be using, as I said, the menthol, the silver and the pearl. I'm going to be using a couple of my lovely stencils. I'm going to be using a mini stencil, and we've just done a great offer actually on the website www.imaginationcrafts, where the little mini stars are part of the offer with our mini stencils and some backing card. I'm also going to be using these gorgeous trees. So this is my Merry Christmas, little Merry Christmas trio trees, and I'm going to be decorating a gift bag, one of these little calico gift bags. And I love these gift bags, great for Christmas, great if you're doing parties, anniversaries, nice for wedding favours, anything like that. They just make more of the gift. If you've got a hand decorated bag, people are really impressed by that. Now, when I start off, I like to iron my bag so it's nice and smooth and there aren't any creases. I also like to line the bag, and what I've lined it with is a little bit of card, so you could use the back of a cereal packet, and I've cut up a little bit of a non-stick silicone mat, one of the mats, a craft mat or a mat that you put in the bottom of the oven, or a little bit of baking parchment. Any of those things would be perfect. Now I like to put it into my bag, and when I'm working on the bag, that means that any paint that I put on this side of the bag won't go through to the underside of the bag, and it keeps it nice and wide and flat, so that means I can stencil on it really easily. The other thing I like to do is I like to have a border around my image, a bit like matting and layering onto a card. So what I'm going to do is use some of my pressure sensitive tape, and I'm going to put that onto my bag and really press it down hard along the seam, because you don't want any of your paint going underneath. I mean, Starlight Textiles, because it's a very thick paint, so that's wonderful. You can mix the colours together, you could water it down slightly, but because it's so thick, it's fantastic. It doesn't bleed under the stencil like a lot of other textile paints do, and that's why I love using it. It stays where you put it, and that's why it's perfect for really precise detail work. So I'm just doing my border with my pressure sensitive tape here. So I'm just going to make sure that's not quite straight. So I just want to frame my work. So I'm really going to push it down hard around the edges, especially around the seam, because these little bags have got a little drawstring, and of course it's stitched into the top. So I want to make sure that it's really firmly down around the sides. Now the three colours of Starlight that I'm going to be using, my Starlight Textile, the menthol, this is that fabulous pearl that I was telling you about, gorgeous magic bullet pearl that will mix with any of the other colours, and a tiny little bit of silver. So I'm just going to pop these down onto my mat. So I'm going to be using a bit more of the menthol than I am of the other colours. So I'm going to pop that down. Now, any Starlight textile that I've got left, always, always, always just put it back into the pot when you've finished using it. Don't just leave it. And then I'm going to use a tiny bit of silver. The silver is just going to go on the background, so I don't need as much of my silver. And then I'm just going to have a tiny bit of pearl. I really don't want much of the pearl. I just want you to see how lovely the highlights are with the pearl. Okay. I'm also going to be using some sparkle medium, and I'm going to be using this through the stencil, and I'm going to be using this fabulous forest green colour. So first of all, I want to colour the background of my bag. So I'm going to put one of my great big lovely domed stencil brushes into the paint. Excuse me there. And all I'm doing is I'm just pouncing the brush into the paint, and then I'm going to stipple it onto my bag. Now when I come to stippling near the edge of the tape, I'm really going to pounce hard because I want this to have a very, very definite border. When I use new stencil brushes, these are bristle brushes, and because they're new, they always shed a little bit. A few of the bristles will come out. That's perfectly normal, and you would expect that with a pure bristle brush because the ferrule has got far more paint in it than is needed. Sorry, I meant little filaments of the brush than are needed. So until you've used the brush a few times, you always get a little bit of shedding of the bristles. So I'm just really, really pouncing this into the fabric so I get a really nice background. I'm going to add a tiny bit of the pearl. I'm just going to mix it in a little bit because I want some of these fabulous highlights that I get with the pearl. I could do more of a swirly movement if I wanted to here. But I really love to get these areas of texture. So, and I like to bring the gilding flake to the surface. So the more I pounce, the more gilding flake comes to the surface. I'm just going to use a little bit more of my lovely menthol here. So I'm just going to put a bit more down on my mat. So I'm going to have a bit left, so I will pop that back in the pot when I've finished. Now I like to hold my brush upright so it's kind of perpendicular to the surface, because then I'm getting this texture and I'm pouncing the paint as well. And the more I pounce, the more the shimmer comes to the surface. It's amazing. So if I swirl, I get a softer look. I'm just going to add a little bit more of this pearl to here, and then I'm just going to pounce it in. And it's really pulling all that gilding flake up to the surface. A little bit more of this beautiful menthol colour just around the edges. I want nice crisp edges, as I was saying before. Okay, so I think we're done. You can see how quick and easy it is to do. I'm in love with my Starlight Textiles. I think they're absolutely amazing paints. And doing a background like this is so quick and so easy. So there we've got our fabulous, gorgeous, look at the shimmer. Isn't that incredible? Just beautiful. Now, Starlight Textiles dry really quite quickly, so I can put my stencil straight on the top. But before I do that, I should explain to you about how you make the Starlight Textile washable. So what you would do now is you would leave your background, whatever background you're going to do, whether it's on a large tote bag or a small gift bag like this, or a cushion or an apron, whatever you're colouring, leave it for between 12 to 24 hours. If you're in a hurry, 12 hours. If you can leave it 24 hours, that's good. Because what will happen is the paint will soak into the surface. Then you put, after 12 or 24 hours, put a piece of parchment or greaseproof paper over the top, and with a really hot iron it well, really, really well, because what that will do, that will release the binder that is already in the paint. The heat releases it, it absolutely sets your paint, and then your fabric and your whatever you've decorated is washable up to 40 degrees. So you know, we've tested it on t-shirts, they look amazing. We've tested it on aprons, cushion covers, and it is washable up to 40 degrees. So that's how you set your Starlight textiles, so that you can then decorate on the top of them if you want to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to tape down my stencil, and I'm just going to tape it around the edges, and I'm using my pressure sensitive tape again. So I'm taping it round all 4 edges, and I'm just going to use some of my sparkle medium. Before I do that, I think you can do this either way round, but I'm going to actually use my little mini stencil before I put my big stencil over the top. I've just decided while I was chatting to you that I want to just put a little bit of texture in the background before I put the big stencil over the top. So I'm going to use my stars. So what I'm going to do is get my one of my big brushes here. I'm going to go into the silver this time. You could do this when you've finished, when your sparkle medium is dry. If there's a certain place, once you've done your stencil and you just want to put little background pieces in, these mini stencils are great for that. But I'm just going to do it before I do my sparkle medium. So I'm just going to, these aren't going to show very much, but as they dry, the colour intensifies. So I will show you how they look when we've just done them. And again, just pouncing the colour through. And then I'm just going to move it across, use my silver. You can always go back over the top if you want more colour, deeper colour, but I just love the delicate look in the background. And you'll see how much they intensify when they're dry, because I've done one, I did one earlier, as you would expect, in true style, so that we can have another look at that in a minute. So this is the wet one, and then we'll have a look at the dry one. So you see I'm layering. I've got my background and Starlight Textile dry quickly, so I can just put my stars in there. Okay, let's just have a few over here. Just going to use up some of the silver. I don't want a heavy background because it's the trees and the sparkle medium that I want to show up. Okay, just going to put that to one side. And we'll have a closer look at this. In fact, let me show you now while it's wet, and then we'll have a look when it's dry. So you can hardly see the background. If I hold this up to the camera, you can just see, there, as it catches the light, you can just see some of those little stars. Look at that. They're nice. But you'll be amazed how they intensify as it dries. Okay, let's pop that back down. And I'm just going to put it onto my work surface where I had it before. I'm still keeping my board and my non-stick craft sheet in there, and I'm just going to pop my Merry Christmas stencil over the top as I had it before. It's great because I can see through the stencil. I can make sure that it's within the lines of my masking tape underneath. That's going to be my border. Okay, now comes the fun, really simple, easy bit. So I'm just going to use my sparkle medium, and I'm going to use this gorgeous forest green. Okay, so always take the sparkle medium onto the back of your knife. Don't put it on the front, because then all you're going to do is merrily start pushing it under your stencil. You need it on the back of your palette knife. And then we're just going to start to spread it over the stencil. And I just want to push gently with the back of my knife so that my sparkle medium goes through my letters of the Merry Christmas. And then I'm just going to do, it's a bit too much, I'm just going to do my trees. Now sparkle medium is a reusable product, so when you've finished, do make sure you scrape your stencil clean and put everything that you can back into the pot to use again. So I'm always using the back of the knife, and I'm just gently, it's quite a gentle touch, I'm just gently pushing it and encouraging it to go through the holes in the stencil. Okay, so I'll just do my last tree. You can see I've missed a tiny bit down there, that's it. I just want it to go through, I've missed another little bit over there. Just in the different lights, suddenly you get a little, you can see little areas you've missed. I've got quite intense overhead lights here in the studio, and it's quite, they reflect off the stencils quite a lot. So I'm just going to check this, and I think we're good to go. So when I've finished, I will scrape my stencil clean, and I will put any sparkle medium that's left back into my pot to use again on another project. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we've got. So I'm just going to gently remove my tape and pull my stencil back away from my little calico bag. Let's have a look. There we go. How gorgeous does that look? Let's have a look here. I'm going to remove the tape from the edge so you'll be able to get a better idea of what I meant by actually framing your work. At home, I would wait until your sparkle medium is dry and then remove your tape. But I want to, obviously, you want to have a look now and see what this looks like. So here we go. We've got our gorgeous little gift bag. I'm going to show you lots more in a minute to show you the difference. So here we have our beautiful, beautiful little gift bag. And if we have a closer look at one that I did earlier, you'll be able to see, I hope, the little stars there. How it just intensifies when it dries. Look at that shimmer. Isn't that gorgeous? Really, really sweet and pretty. So that's your beautiful little calico gift bag used with the Starlight Textile paints. But we're going to have a look at some more now so that you can really see some different examples which might inspire you. So again, I've done another one with the same stencil, and here I've used a little mixed media panel stencil. I love these little mixed media stencils, little dots, just to give some little detail down the edge of the bag. This is a bag that I was asked to do for a wedding, and the bride wanted, we took out the little drawstring at the top because the bride wanted the colour to match the bridesmaid's dress. So we just popped some extra ribbon in there, and we've just put some little beads on, just little beads sewn on, just to give a little bit of emphasis. I love the cyclamen colour that we used on here. That's really lovely. And on this bag, and hopefully I'll be doing this one for you as a follow-on little YouTube. Can you see I've used my beautiful poinsettia panel stencil here. I've used the red, the green and the gold, little Merry Christmas ribbon across the top. I've done some lettering on this one, used my Merry Christmas stencil, and I've put a little bit of matching ribbon across the top. So how lovely would that be as a table present? And you know, sometimes little gifts for men, pair of socks, cufflinks, just so much more if you've got it in a pretty gift bag. And here, I love this. I love this. I love my little Christmas robins. I think they're so sweet. And I've combined this with my little leaf panel stencil. Hold that up so you can see it. And my little Christmas robin. This was a panel stencil, but I flipped it to tell the story across the 6x6 little calico bag. And this is a really interesting bag, because what I've done here, I prepared my background just as I've shown you here, and then I cut out some of my rice paper, which is on the website, the Imagination Crafts rice paper. I stuck it on with the fabric decoupage glue, here and here and here, and then I put my stencils over the top. So look how fabulous that looks. So a little, you can do your mixed media on a little gift bag here. So something really pretty and a little bit different. Beautiful, absolutely lovely. So I hope you've enjoyed this YouTube video in your Starlight Textile, and I'll see you again soon.